Any successful rebuild starts in the trenches, and thankfully, Hugh Freeze knows that.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Joining me as he does every Friday, we're dapping it up with Darrell, Dapprich, Montgomery, radio vet. Our final show before Christmas. Merry Christmas, everyone. And Auburn got a late Christmas present on early signing day. We had already put the show up, but Favour Edwin commits. And this is just another example, Daryl, of Hugh Freeze emphasizing the battle in the trenches, because that's where games won and lost. And the Auburn Tigers, when you look at the offensive and defensive line going into 2024, I mean, what a difference 14, 15 months makes, however long Hugh Freeze has been here. I mean, it's dramatic, the difference that we've seen. And that's what it looks like when a coaching staff comes in and puts an emphasis on adding big men on both sides of the line.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you look at a kid like Edwin and 6'6", 300 pounds, chose Auburn over Alabama and Florida, had some group of fives in there. And, it's big because when you combine the three offensive linemen with this class and how many offensive linemen Auburn signed in the last class, that's, we joked about it last year. It was like more than Auburn consecutively signed in 3 years. And now it just keeps stacked. I'm all about stacking. Stacking is a big term and a very important thing when you're rebuilding and reconstructing a roster and a program. You stack. You stack recruiting classes. You stack portal classes, you stack wins. Stacking is the buzzword. And that's exactly what Hugh Freeze is doing. This is a kid from Nigeria that started out playing basketball. So I think he could be a guy that you don't need to count on to contribute right away. Yes. But he's raw. He reminds me a lot of Prince Wega, right? From that came and from a different country. And then
Prince Tega.
Yeah. I said Wega. Yeah. So his last name starts with a W.
Yeah. Prince Tega Wanogo was his name.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, Prince Wega, his twin brother is who I was referring to that he reminds me. I'm just so yeah. He basically had that same a pedigree, came from a different country, played a different sport, and so I think that's great. And I think that he's a kid that can grow. And he's raw, but you can a lot of growth potential there. And he's not counted on, I think, to play right away like someone like DeAndre Carter or Connor Lew.
Yeah, I think so. And he's not going to play this upcoming season. And then it seems like they're probably going to go with Wilfred before him. And then maybe after that, he'll have a chance down the road, which I think he'll be ready by that point, which is exactly we've talked about this before with quarterbacks. We've talked about this before with running backs. You're starting to see these rooms start to backfill with talent. And it's like, okay, they've got a plan for the future here, which is great. It's like the positional need's not going to sneak up on Hugh Freeze and this coaching staff in 2 seasons. It's like they're planning ahead, which is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. But when you pair what's happened on the offensive line with what Auburn brought in on signing day, this defensive line class is so good, Daryl. It is so good. And they do so many different things. I mean, you got your defensive end with Amaris Williams. You got your interior guys with Malik Blockton and TJ Lindsey. You've got the guys that can rush the passer with Jamonta Waller and Joe Phillips. It's just, this staff gets it. And they're like, okay, well, we need guys that can play right away on defensive line. Let's go out and get them. And I was a little skeptical about what they've done on the defensive line regarding the transfer portal, because it's like, who's going to play? Who's going to play on the defensive line? Well, now I think you actually have some freshmen that you feel comfortable playing day one in the SEC, because a lot of these guys are going to be here for spring.
Yeah, Amaris Williams is one of those guys that I think can play right away. Amaris, and I think that, the different positions, the versatility that he can bring in this defensive line class and depth. We'll talk about that more later, but I think that lines of scrimmage, as you mentioned in the open, are the most important thing. That's where it starts when you're trying to reestablish your prominence as a program. Yeah. Auburn's done a really good job of building it that way. I mean, we talk about other, rooms needing infusion of talent. But, a lot of times it's the less hype and the less attention gets thrown at the trenches, but it's important. And that's where he's starting. And I really commend them for it's not easy. It seems to be harder to recruit those bigs, and he's doing a great job.
All right, let's talk about just guys in the trenches, offensive and defensive line. I'm going to say the name of the signee, Daryl, and I want you to tell me on a scale of 1 to 10 how confident you are that they're going to be able to contribute in 2024.
Okay.
Williams, the highest rated player that's going to be on the line of scrimmage.
7.
Okay. Joseph Phillips.
Another 7.
I mean, he's almost a 10 to me just because of the position. There's just not a whole lot of guys in the room. Jamonta Waller.
8.
Yeah, he's in the same boat to me. 8, 9, absolutely. DeAndre Carter, the interior offensive lineman.
8.
Really? You think he had this season?
I do. If he gets in the rotation and plays snaps, I'm not talking about starting, but if he plays in every game and gets in the rotation and plays some snaps, to me, that's an impact of an 8, and I think he's going to do that.
Bigger impact on the roster. Connor Lew last season, DeAndre Carter this upcoming year.
Same.
What? Are you kidding?
No. I mean, and I could be totally out of my mind and totally wrong, but you're asking for an opinion, and that's my opinion.
No, I just want to know more about the opinion. So is it just because of how much of that is somebody not stepping up at right guard or left guard, I guess?
That's part of it. And we're asking this question as of right now, in the year of our Lord, December 21, 2023. If in the next week, Auburn picks up a couple of seasoned veteran group of 5 or power 5 guys that you can plug and play and start, I completely changed my opinion on that. But we're basing upon right now in the moment without Auburn having gotten any in the portal that can come right in like a Gunnar Britton did last year, or Avery Jones, and start. If that happens, I completely change that to a 4 or maybe even a 5. But right now, that hasn't happened. What if Auburn strikes out? And, they wanted Scurry, miss. Bedford, miss. Carmona, miss. If they continue to miss on guys, and this is what we have, then I think Carter's going to be forced to play a bigger role. That's why.
Okay, I get it. Cool.
But now it'll change. Like I said, if they go out and get somebody, that'll completely change my opinion.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the portal in a second for sure. TJ Lindsey, the 6'3", 270-pound 4-star defensive lineman.
5.
Okay. I'm a little higher. I'm going to say 6 or 7. I think a lot of these freshmen play. Daryl. Malik Blockton, fellow defensive lineman.
6, because he's versatile of where he can play. If they put weight on him in the spring in a conditioning program, he can move inside. If they don't, he's athletic enough to stay right where he is.
Yeah, I'm curious to see who emerges quicker out of these two, TJ Lindsey and Malik Blockton. Right now, I'm going to have TJ Lindsey ahead of Malik Blockton, so we're going to differ a little bit there, but I agree that it's close. Seth Wilfred, the JUCO offensive tackle.
Great question. I'll go with a 6 on him. I think he'll be a depth piece.
Yeah, I'm thinking 5. I don't think he's a part of the starting conversation, but I do think he's in the 2 deep, which is relevant. And then I think he's projected to start next season. Dimitri Nicholas, which I actually don't think he signed at the time of us having this conversation. So let's avoid that one. And then for the sake of completing the full class, let's include the transfer. Let's include Gage Keys in this conversation.
Oh, 7 or 8. Yeah.
I'm with you.
I love that Power 5 experience, right? I mean, I really do. I think he'll play. I think he probably, out of everyone we mentioned, whether it's Williams, other than Waller, I think Waller and Keys and that whole group will be the 2 on the defensive side that play the most.
I think Phillips is better than Waller, but what a great problem that we find ourselves.
Great problem.
What a great situation that Auburn has found itself in.
I guess it's relative. He was Waller. Some say he was the highest rated player in Mississippi. Some say Cam Martin. But Phillips is a great player. I think he's very much under the radar. But when you got a guy,
Cam Franklin, the
old. Who did I say?
Cam. You said Cam Martin.
Did I really?
You did. Yeah.
I apologize, struggling with the names today. I'm ready for Christmas. Cam Franklin or Waller, one of those two. I think anytime you've got the highest rated player in Mississippi, I think you get the edge. Not to sell Phillips short at all, but yeah, that's why I went with that.
Sure. I'm cool with it.
By the way, Cam Martin, former Auburn player, right? So I can see the
running back, right?
Yeah.
Shifty guy for sure.
I want to hop the DeLorean and go back in time, by the way, with some of these name changes.
That's okay. That's fine. Yeah. That's fine. There's a lot of names thrown out. All right, let's discuss the portal. What's the biggest need on offense now? And what does Auburn need to go out and get? We discuss in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Game Time is the best place to buy tickets. Daryl, you've bought tickets using the Game Time app. I've bought tickets using the Game Time app. I've bought tickets to sporting events, Auburn games specifically, as well as New England Patriot games. Also bought some concert tickets for my wife that we're going to early next year. And it's so easy to use, Daryl. I love that you can pull it up and you know that it's the best deal for those specific seats. You don't have to look at other places. Game Time's done it for you.
It's phenomenal. You can see exactly kind of what a virtual seat, where your seat is virtually, it's right there. You plug in who you're wanting to see. There's no guessing involved. I love it.
Yeah. In fact, you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Auburn Med Aesthetics. Guys, Christmas is here, and if you're looking around on this Friday or Saturday, whenever you're listening to the show and you're thinking, I didn't get enough. One, you're probably correct. Two, solution, auburnmedaesthetics.com. They've got so many services at Auburn Med Aesthetics. They will take care of your significant other. So head over to auburnmedaesthetics.com. Get them a gift card. It's very easy to use on their website. And she'll love you for it. She'll love you for it. So once again, auburnmedaesthetics.com, the best place to buy gift cards this holiday season. Darrell Dapprich, our guest on this Friday. The biggest need on offense when you look at what Auburn has done, and now they prepare for the portal period of this, because let's be honest, it's very clear they were focusing on this recruiting class, and it paid off. It paid off tenfold. I think offensive tackle is still the biggest need on the offensive side of the ball. What say you?
I certainly can't argue with that. Mine is still the receiving room. And I know that people are going to say, are you crazy? I don't know, with how far they have to come and who they lost in the performance of last year, if we can automatically assume, no matter how talented this Fab Four are so far, that any of them can come in. I think it's unfair to expect an immediate impact from kids that are freshmen. Now, do I believe that a Cam Coleman or a Perry Thompson or any of these kids will get significant playing time and can make an impact? Yes, I just don't know if I want to bank on that or put all my eggs in that basket. I think it's an unproven commodity because of their age. And so that's why I still feel like it's the one that needs the most improvement with what Auburn lost in performance last year.
I think if you're Hugh Freeze and this staff, you almost have to. You almost have to say, I have to rely on you. I mean, the amount of NIL capital that has been thrown to these kids, I don't think you need to throw much more in that receiver room, because that's what you're paying them to do at this point. I mean, let's just call a spade here. Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson, they haven't been treated like regular players their entire life, because they're not. They're not regular players. They're very special human beings. And they were treated as such on the recruiting trail. They're going to be treated as such as far as Auburn getting ready for the season. So I think you give them the special treatment. I think you give them as many reps with the ones as humanly possible this spring and say, hey, if this offense is going to take a step forward, it has to be because of you guys on the outside. Bryce Kane, Malcolm Simmons, you will have a role too, but we've really got to make sure it clicks with these two guys on the outside and whoever our quarterback is, assuming it's Peyton Thorne. I think that's it, Daryl. And I don't know if you can go out and get a guy via the portal that's going to be able to come in and make that level of an impact, or at least have that type of ceiling as these two guys do. And so I almost don't think it's worth going to get another dude, because it may take away reps from these two 5-stars that have come in. So that's why I think offensive tackle is it.
The key is what you just said is ceiling. Yeah, I'm not talking about potential ceiling down the road or how great they're going to be. I'm talking about immediate impact. And I think it's one thing to have Hugh Freeze tell them, I've got to rely on you, and another that they believe it, they know it, they see it in their heart, but can they translate that onto the field? I think they will. I think they are special, but I just counting on that is a little bit scary to me, but we'll see. I mean, I think if anybody could, somebody out of this group could emerge, because they're special. But the offensive tackle's a good one as well, because that obviously is such an important piece and cog of everything you do, from pass game and run game. So, yeah, I can't argue with that one either.
Yeah, I mean, and it's obvious, right? I think if you get an offensive tackle that you feel is better than Dylan Wade, you scoot Dylan Wade inside, Dylan Wade's going to be a better guard than most of these guys on the roster. And it upgrades multiple positions if you're able to do that. Pair that with Connor Liu going through another offseason. Pair that with Xavier Miller, who was very raw this time. I mean, Xavier Miller's a different human being than he was a year ago. And I just think they're one position or one guy short in this entire room. And if they can get that taken care of, boy, I really think this offensive line could be one of the better offensive lines in the Southeastern Conference.
I agree. And that's where it becomes the whole different, changes the complexion, where I don't think any of these freshmen have to be relied to get into the two deep significantly. You get one,
which is ideal.
You get a tackle, like you said, then you address the guard position at the same time by getting that tackle and sliding Wade over. And then it just becomes a depth thing and a numbers thing.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see what that looks like moving forward. I want to discuss the biggest hole on the defensive side of the ball, but just real quick. I mean, do you think there's any major hole as far as tight end goes? Daryl, did that cross your mind at all? Because I have seen a few people concerned about the depth and the production of the tight end room after Deal and Fairweather.
Well, I like Micah Riley too. I think you've got three dudes there, and I think why I'm not so concerned about it is they're all three different types of tight ends. They all do different things. You got your pass catching tight end, your blocking tight end, and then kind of a hybrid of both. But that's not to say that I don't still think that Auburn may get Skinner or Rico Walker and add to that room from a tight end standpoint from the portal. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, what's the biggest need on defense? Daryl and I disagree on this as well, so stay tuned. That's coming up right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel's the official sports book of the Locked On Podcast Network. Once again, Auburn a 7-point favorite in the Music City Bowl over Maryland. Daryl, where are you leaning on that one when you look at our friends at FanDuel's line?
It's a great line. I mean, if someone would have asked me after Tagovailoa opted out, what do you think? I would have said Auburn between 7 and 10. I think Auburn's got a lot of just desire and urge to win a freaking bowl game. It's been a little while. Yeah. And I think they want to win this bowl game to propel them into next year. So, they got a lot of guys that still are opting in on this, including their starting quarterback. And so, I think Auburn was favored anyway. I think this just widens, obviously, the gap.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm taking Auburn to cover as well. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to kick off your sports winnings. And right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of the NFL and the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, Daryl, I believe the biggest need on defense is cornerback. Keontae Scott moving to the outside certainly helps. It certainly helps. Do I feel great about going into the season with Keontae Scott and Kayan Lee as your two outside corners? I feel okay about it, but this defense was able to do so much when their front seven, being able to trust DJ James and Nehemiah Pritchett and Kayan Lee a year ago. And I don't know if they're quite to that point, just because I think Keontae Scott's such a good player. I think he's better in the middle of the field. I still believe that. And so we'll see how they treat that throughout spring. But I would love another guy I would love another guy. If you could somehow keep Canley as your third best corner on your team, that would be an incredible situation to find yourself in going into spring.
I would love another guy too. I think more as a luxury. I would like a guy to get added to depth as a luxury type situation. I think defensive line, defensive tackle is still the biggest need, the biggest hole, because you rotate guys so much in the Southeastern Conference along the defensive front. And, maybe I'm really, really high on Scott and Lee, but behind them, it gets a little bit thin. So, I would want another dude to be put in that backfield. I just think that would be more of a luxury and not a necessity as defensive. I mean, other than Jason Jones, I get it. Gage Keys comes in. Where's the starters along the defensive front, right? So are we still looking for another starter?
Are we assuming Rodgers is gone in this conversation?
Yeah,
I don't see him coming back right now. Until I see an announcement, I'm going to assume he's not coming back.
Right. I think that's what we would have to do. So, that's why I still think not only from a depth standpoint, but I think we need, Auburn needs one more just to emerge to be a force, to be a solid starter.
Yeah, so if Rodgers is gone, your oldest guys are Keys, Jones, and then Zacchaeus Walker, who's been I felt like he has given a few chances last year, and I don't think you really grabbed hold of them as much as I expected him to. You feel good about Keldrick Falk at defensive end, right? Like, you feel great about that. Can Darren Reed step up? What about, Quintrell Jamison Travis? Can he step up? He came in late. He didn't even really get an off season last year. Can he do something maybe and be a guy, a depth piece at that 3 technique? I don't know. I'm with you. It seems like they are missing a few guys, unless they just kind of told, hey, Malik Blockton, hey, TJ Lindsey, hey, Amaris Williams, like, you're going to come in and play. You're going to come in and play, and you're going to be part of the 2 deep, part of this 8 or 9 guy rotation that we have up front. Like, I don't think it'd be the worst plan, but there would be games where I think that would hurt you.
That's a good point. That maybe that was a selling point. Maybe that was the thing that put them over the top. That was the closer mentality, is that, hey, you're going to come and you're going to play significant.
Amaris Williams is probably going to be Keldrick Falk's backup at defensive end, right?
Yes.
If they don't add anybody else.
If they don't add anybody else, I could see that happening. He's a physical specimen enough to do that and to handle that. So, but that could have been the selling point. You can come and you're going to get in the rotation, in the 2 deep. You're going to play significant snaps. Come on here. It could have been what turned the tide on a lot of those guys.
Keldrick Falk to Amaris Williams, like, so great, dude.
It is. It really is.
Oh, it's so fun. And just think about this defensive line, like, next year or 2 years from now, when all these guys have grown up. I think Darren Reed will be a solid force by then too, with Blockton and Lindsey and Amaris and Keldrick. Like, it's just going to be fun. So it's going to be a fun team. But you got to win in 24. You got to win in 2024.
Yeah, you do. Thank you. Proof of concept. Let's not talk about being close and being in it and showing. There has to, in my opinion, if you want to get a top 5 class, which is the goal in 2025, Hugh Freeze said himself, you need a little bit better proof of concept on the field and see a healthy jump from 6 wins to maybe 9 to 10 wins. That's my opinion, and that's the expectation. And if we shy away from that, then what are we doing? What's all this wonderful goodwill that we're building up with this recruiting class if the goals and the expectations aren't loftier, especially when it was right there for the taking, probably to have 8 wins, and some disappointing things happen. So that's what I think. I think proof of concept matters, because here's the thing. People will say none of the losses that Auburn had affected recruiting, and I believe that this year. But there may come a time, Zach, where the NIL money lines up and everything's equitable, and the player looks and says, who do I got a better chance to go to the college football playoff with, and who could put me in the league? And that's when proof of concept on the field matters.
I think that's a good point. Does that turn happen in 2024? Like, I don't know. I think Auburn's going to, we talked about it in our predictions. I truly believe with a lot of the ones that are coming back, the key components that are coming back on the roster, the Asantes and the Scotts and the Thorne and hopefully Hunter and all these guys that announced they were coming back, they can propel you now with a whole nother year in the system. And some of the newer guys that were freshmen last year that contributed, when they become sophomores, they become a lot more grizzled veterans.
that group right there with another year of Freeze's coaching, if he grabs hold of the play calling responsibilities and says, yes, they can make a 2 to 3 game leap in the win column, in my opinion.
I think so too. I was referring to, you said there's going to be a point where the losses start to hurt recruiting.
Oh yeah. Next year would be, yes, I'm sorry. Yeah. Next year, I think could be that. I think if you start looking with, especially Zach, with a 12-team college playoff where the expectations is for more teams to get in. Right. So the level of expectation of performance goes down some to get in. If the bar is lowered and you still miss it, starts to become a problem, I think.
Yeah, I think it's going to become a yearly thing where you've got to find 10 wins on your schedule every single year. And if you win those 10 games in the SEC, you're probably in the college football playoff.
Yes. That's the wonderful part about being in the conference that Auburn's in, is they're going to get a little bit more. I mean, once they go ahead and seed, and once they go ahead and filter
that
out.
That hurt FSU on Wednesday, by the way.
Yeah, right. I mean, once they sift out the conference champions, if you are a SEC 10-win team, you're going to get in over a Big 12 10-win team. You just are. You may get in over a Big 10 10-win team, looking at the optics. Definitely over a 10-win ACC team. So that's the race is on. You're right. The race to 10 wins, because if you do it in the SEC, I have a really good feeling you're in. You are in.
Yeah, I think so. What a fun week it was, man. As we get towards the end of the year and we just kind of look back at everything that happened this year, calendar year, it was a good one for Auburn. And I just think if Hugh Freeze is able to pull this off in 3 or 4 years, we're going to look back and say 2023 was where it happened. 2023 is where the standard of Auburn football changed. And it was cool to do that and talk about that every day with you, and to be joined by you everydayers every single day.
Yeah, I wanted to take that moment, too, to wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
Yes.
Thank you for the people that tune in and watch this and listen on the podcast. I don't ever take that for granted that somebody actually wants to sit there and listen to opinions. And so, and thank you for providing this platform, Zach. I really appreciate it. It's been a wonderful year, a great year.
It has been a wonderful year. I think you'll be on one more time next week, and maybe we'll reflect on 2023 and look into 2024 a little bit more. But Merry Christmas, everyone. We will have a crossover episode drop Monday morning on Christmas with Trey Moore. He hosts Locked On Terps. We talk about the Music City Bowl and just kind of what we need to be watching for that. And on Tuesday, I've already recorded a few interviews that are going to drop in that episode, just talking about some of the acquisitions that Auburn has made via the portal so far. So we'll still have all that. I'll be back to normal episodes on Wednesday. So bear with me. We'll still put content up on Monday and Tuesday. It may not be fresh. If big things happen, come back on Wednesday. We'll react to everything then. But hopefully you enjoy some time with your family. But if you need to step away, you choose to look at Locked On Auburn to kind of give you a little bit of an escape. Daryl, in the meantime, how can people check out everything that you've got going on?
Follow me on X at Dap6410. Typically Monday mornings and Tuesday afternoons in the Auburn Network, and then with you Fridays and live basketball postcasts as well.
Yes, yeah, and no basketball postcast tonight. Daryl's going to the game, spending some time with his family. I'm going to do the same thing too. I'm going to try to not work Christmas weekend. I'm going to try to do it. Daryl. We'll see if
do it.
Yeah, we'll see. Hey, until Monday, where we drop the Christmas episode, we'll see you then. This has been Locked On Auburn.